From the PSIA-AASI Satellite Studios in Portland, Oregon, I'm George Thomas. You're listening to First Chair, and the first in our series about finding our why. And the first of these episodes, we're going to be chatting with team member Melodie Buell, who's joining us tonight as an introduction. And the next in the series, we're going to be chatting with Melodie and finding out her why and her journey to the national team and her incredible teaching experience. And then we have a couple of members who are going to be joining us to share their stories. So I'm actually really looking forward to this series. And Melodie, why are you here? Speaking of why.
Well, to keep things simple, I'm here because you asked me.
Okay, there we go.
However, I think thinking about a why, and I think it's so important for us to clarify why it is that we do what we do. And as snow pros, as people who choose to give so much of our life, whether it's our profession or something that we enjoy over the weekends or as a volunteer endeavor, in so many different spectrums, like we've got weekenders, we've got volunteers. I think it's important to get deeper than sometimes that superficial reasoning to drive to the hill to pick up a lesson with the guest. And, I know we'll get into this a little bit more in depth next time, but for me, I had to go on a journey to get clear with what that was so that each time I showed up on the hill, there was something that was true for me inside that kept me going past a lineup or past that guest experience that was far greater than that. And that brings me back to more of that big picture piece, which is the truth is I really want to live a happy life. And I think very quickly towards Arthur Brooks' work and his recipe for what that happiness is. And it includes enjoyment. Enjoyment needs to happen with others. It's satisfaction, which needs to include a little bit of suffering, right? Suffering is really an important ingredient to that satisfaction. And then that next one really brings us back to this thing about why. It's meaning and purpose. Why do you do what you do? And I think so often we get a little bit fixated on goals and we think that's the why. Oh, my goal is to increase my wage, or my goal is to pass my level 3 or to get my level 1 or laterally diversify, my certifications. And those are all lovely things, but what are they attached to? What deeper meaning is there? And I think so often when we start to get something that's deep within us, we then have an opportunity to actually substantiate it and build towards something. For me, I think of purpose and why should be this thing that is overarching in our life that doesn't really change much. A goal is something that's flexible, it changes, it's kind of that stepping stone towards that greater purpose. It's like we have this little hierarchy and these things that substantiate something so much bigger. And I think it's really helpful to show up and to get to a point where you look and you go, oh, I'm doing this certification because it helps me live into my purpose. And it provides, ultimately, in that pathway, it provides a better experience for the person that I'm connecting with, because I'm not just checking a box anymore. It's something far greater than I can do with, something that's maybe singular. It becomes so much bigger. So I think about that, and I challenge our members to think about, like, why do I do this? And I've heard these pieces where people kind of get stuck in this piece, and that's my judgment, is being stuck, is of like, this is part of my identity. And I want you to consider, what would it look like if you removed yourself, right? And maybe I impose this on you, George. Like, so many of us say, I am as a pro, I am a ski instructor, I am. But what if you actually practice that? What if I practice that? And so it becomes an action, something that you actually have to lean into on a daily basis. Now it becomes something that's intentional and not something that's given. So now we've got a few things that we can reference goals that substantiate something that's far greater than anything you can achieve in your lifetime. And now we've got something of remove your identity and move it towards an action that you practice. And then let that start to inform, why do I do this?
Hey, learning is a part of the adventure. CEUs aren't just a checkbox, they're your excuse to ski, ride, and connect. Knock out your continuing education at thesnowpros.org and keep the good turns going.
Well, I looked up a definition of why, because I think this is almost an overused term these days. And I found something I actually liked, and it was finding your why means discovering your core purpose. Underlying reason for your actions and decisions, both personally and professionally. And this is what motivates you to continue when things are getting really rough. And if you go online and look, you're going to see videos, there's self-help, it's all over the place. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's part of my job every day as a cessation counselor. And what I've found was that when we would be talking about, why are you in this class? What's motivating you to make this big change in your life? And people would say kind of the litany of just stock answers: health.
Yeah.
People who have lung cancer. I don't want to die. And then you actually start questioning them about that. And death is not a reason why people really want to quit. It's amazing what it's like. Wait a minute. Okay, if that isn't a strong enough reason to give up something that you're enjoying doing, what is it? And that really triggered me to start looking and asking very specific questions with people that were going through our program of, well, what is health? It's not getting sick. It's not that. It's like, no, what is health? What is health? That'd be playing with my grandkids and having the energy and the lung capacity to be able to run around and kick a soccer ball with them. And really coming up with a personal definition of what these reasons actually mean to someone. And when those reasons become very personal, then that why actually starts to take shape. And I remember going out leading a clinic one day, and I was asking people why they were taking the clinic. And then, of course, job got in my head, and it was like, oh, I'm here because I want to take my level 1. And I was like, well, why? And we started delving into more than just superficial question. And okay, great. It was why? What does this actually mean for you? Why do you want to put in this extra 2 hours after your day is ended to actually stay out here and take a clinic so that you can pass your level 1? What does that actually mean to you? And these are people with jobs, and I mean, they're not necessarily up there teaching skiing for the check. They're up there because they are ski instructors or whatever that is. And that's what I really want to visit with you about tonight. I love it when you and I have a conversation because you really get introspective and you make me think. And when this topic came up, I was like, Melodie.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
But think about that, and I would really like your input on in this. Of what is that driving factor for us as instructors? So many of us have full-time jobs. We're paying mortgages. We've got kids that we're trying to get through college. We've got all these other things going on in our lives. Why make that trek up to the mountain? Could be a long drive for a weekend job where you're teaching for a couple hours and you turn around and head home.
Absolutely.
But
George, there's a couple of features. Yeah, exactly. We do love it, don't we? There's a couple of things that I hear accentuated in the stories that you're telling. And one is, it really kind of resonates with this space of acknowledging that typically the human disposition is to serve. And I think it's one of the greatest gifts in life that we can create, move into, is to recognize that and to intentionally bring that in. And so I think starting with that and to looking at service in some form is really valuable. And I think that many of us are so attracted to that in these various forms through through ski instruction, through snowboard instruction, through snow sports instruction, whatever discipline that you engage with. And we can do something that impacts someone else. And that creates an incredible feeling inside, especially if it really is coming from a space of giving. And I think that if we've learned how to experience that within our on snow experiences, whether you're a trainer most of the time, maybe you're, out giving lessons to guests on a regular basis, there's some kind of joy, moments of joy that you've experienced. I bet you've experienced a lot of that. And as I'm thinking about this example with this person who was talking about, well, I want to get my level 1. And it's like, well, you're in this role of, hey, I get to invest in this person who is seeking something. And that creates an experience and a chemical release for you. And that's really special. And that helps in really like grow the human experience. And I love that for you. And then there's also something more that's happening, is you are now investing that's in something that is beyond yourself, right? It's not actually just focused on you. You are now investing in someone else. And that's what someone is, a trainer like yourself, someone, and also someone who is helping someone else learn how to ski, who is working with them. Many of us are doing this on a daily basis. I also think there's something very valuable to being really aware of that. I am here to support this other person in their learning journey. I am here to help them move along. Now, all these special things are happening. I'm experiencing some oxytocin. I'm living into this purpose around being a human where I'm serving. And I feel so much more connected with myself. And now, think about going back to this conversation around certification. There's more value in that. It's actually no longer about getting the pin or passing my level 2. It's actually about being of more service. So now the content and the information and each training that I show up to has more value. It's no longer about an outcome. And I think there's something really incredible that we get a chance to pause and look at. And it's like, can we move the emphasis towards the journey and take it away from the outcome? Next time when we chat, that's a really big part of what became true for me. It's not about the outcome, because the outcomes end. It's about the journey. And that helps me stay connected with my why. And I think that that's a huge part of what keeps people passionate.
And I love what you just said, because, and I would love for you to address this, how many times have you heard someone say, well, I want to get my level 3 so I don't have to teach first-time kids anymore?
Right? Oh my goodness, George, there's so many things.
Actually, you will teach first-time kids and you're expected to do a really good job at it.
Exactly. I think there's so many layers within that I hope that people can start to see within. Is first, of course, as you mentioned, like the versatility is so valuable, and in understanding what that certification really is saying. It's like you are capable of teaching all people, as opposed to now you're only teaching that advanced zone. Like those are not the same. And I think that there's a couple of things that are worth pointing out. Is one, that's a negative purpose that is being focused on. I don't want to. And I think that there's something really valuable of flipping that script of saying, I want to expand and to be more impactful to the people that I'm working with so that they are more successful and I deepen my understanding and more effective. And that changes things a little bit. And I look and I think, that person who says, I don't want to, well, I guess part of me looks and I'd say, hey, what's the discomfort here? And see if there's some threshold to move towards. But is that really going to get you to where you want to be? So I think there's some side notes here that are worthy to look at. Is mindset is huge. And when we're talking about our why, I think it's so valuable to be clear on what is it that we're working towards, as opposed to the mindset impact of working away from something. right? Like if I'm working towards, speaking of health, I think you mentioned that in your reference to your work. It's like if I'm working towards being healthy because I want a strong body, like that's really different than avoiding of like doing it so that I'm avoiding death, which apparently, as you spoke to, is not a motivator for some people. And
doesn't seem to be.
So shifting those mindsets and being really clear. And I think that when we have a greater purpose, teaching kids might have a different lens. It might have a different lens. It also might like looking and saying, actually, sure, I might like to diversify, and I'm pursuing my level 3, and that's there, it's lingering there. But also looking and saying, actually, the reason I want to do this is because I want to be more impactful, more effective. And I keep coming back to these words because I think that they actually give us a pathway to leaning into this space around service and around being able to give to others. And I think that can keep us moving in a direction that isn't singular.
Trying to stay sharp this season? Check out the national and regional events calendar at thesnowpros.org/calendar and find the more than 3,000 events that we host annually. Whether it's a local clinic or a big mountain event, there's something happening near you.
I got my 3. I really went for that certification because I did want to teach a wide variety of lessons, but I also wanted to start training.
Yes. How does that feel now, George? What's the feeling you experience?
Oh, I love it. I look forward to going to the mountain. It's my safe place. I just love it up there. And it feels like home.
Good. Thank you for that. Love it.
And I'm also thinking, again, though, when I went for my 3, I was a full-time instructor. And my 2 and all of that. I was a full-time instructor. It was my life. I loved it. And it's what I wanted to do. Health got in the way. But so I didn't achieve all my goals there. But I've made do and made the best with what I've got. But I look at myself now and it's like, would I have the time and the drive that I needed to get that advanced certification with a full-time job and being up at the mountain 2 days a week or a day and a half a week, whatever it is that I'm going up? That was a big commitment and it was a lot of work. How do we, if that's something we decide we want to do, how can we make that a priority where we're really putting that time up there where it almost feels very selfish? No, it doesn't almost feel. It was very selfish.
I get that. And here's something
thinking about me.
Absolutely. And I hear something that I feel like I've heard from a lot of our members who are maybe they've got their level 1 and they're ready to pursue level 2 or 2 to 3, whatever that next step is for them, or even into the ed staff zone. And the thing that I think is really important to stay with is I want to go back to that reference around happiness, because I do think it's really important to be clear about what the enjoyment is in what you're doing. Because the thing is if you're doing it because you do enjoy what you're doing and you're bringing in community, you're studying with someone else, it's actually probably going to feel pretty fulfilling. And I think that oftentimes we can see it as a chore, or it can take away from what it is that we're doing in the context of our job. Because now you're talking about maybe you're getting done teaching all day and you're heading home and you need to study for a couple hours, or you need to take an online exam, or whatever that looks like. So it's regimented. It's coursework, and it should be treated that way. I think it's important for us to recognize, like, hey, we're actively doing something and studying for it simultaneously. Also, what a gift. What a gift to be able to go in and study for something and being able to apply it immediately. Like the next day, you can read something and say, hey, I wonder if this is a good fit for my student. Notice the hesitation there, though, so that I'm still staying student-centered, as opposed to taking something that I learned and imposing it on my learner. So recognizing that it's that piece, of course, right? And then also recognizing that there's fulfillment for us when we do engage in a little bit of that suffering. It's good for things to be hard. That helps us thrive. And when we talk about coming back to this idea of really finding that why and circling around it, I think it's really important to recognize what our threshold is for discomfort, right? So if you are okay studying and working and moving towards things that are ideas that are not with you now. So maybe that's deepening your technical knowledge, or having to change your personal performance, or expanding and deepening your understanding of our people and teaching skills. That might not feel really easy to you. Great, you are in the right place. These are all goals that can help culminate towards a why. You have an opportunity to enrich yourself, and that suffering creates satisfaction. And I think that there's an incredible layer of opportunity, growth, and connection that you can provide to your guest, which comes back to this idea of living into this human disposition of service, which I think when you get clear of what your version of that, or whatever it is, that why, it's much easier to look and say, hey, I'm going to study tonight, and I'm going to really dig in and consider these things that I don't already know, because it helps me fulfill this greater thing. So it gives you this like baseline, this foundation of like, oh, I'm going to do this because there's something here for me. And I think that we can bring that back and use it as this piece to continue to pursue education and to broaden what we can offer.
And what you've described, I think, is a very motivational something that we could really have inside of us to get us through those tough times, which matches the definition that we put forth at the beginning.
Absolutely. I mean, and the truth that's within all of this is, I think it's so important for us to figure out like what our journey around this all looks like. And, I come back to these idea is like the journey is the goodness, the pin, the certification, great. But getting there, like I think that's where we get a lot of the actual enjoyment, where we can actually find and get closer to whatever that meaning and purpose is. I think a lot about these ideas around grit. Are you familiar with these concepts, George, around grit? I know you have a lot of it. So I think a lot about
hear them from you.
So I think Angela Duckworth talks a lot about this, and it's this idea of just having this perseverance and commitment to long-term goals. And I think that when we understand that bigger picture, that why, it's easier, it becomes more tolerant, maybe not easier, more tolerant for us to continue with something over time. So I look and I say, oh, I'm experiencing discomfort. Right? And understanding what it feels like for me. So pursuing certification, being in a clinic, maybe you're receiving feedback that is asking for change, that can provoke a lot of discomfort, and going, this is here for me to grow, and being able to take that in, right? As the thing you're saying to yourself. And then as opposed to, oh shoot, I didn't get it right, I must be wrong, right? There's shame in that. And being able to change and start to shift your mindset of like, what a gift this feedback is. And then recognizing, oh, I have more tolerance for this. Give me more. Now you can quickly start to see like this idea of being thirsty for more feedback and having a desire to engage with discomfort can promote more change, which then can accelerate you in these spaces that require grit, where you can become a higher performer, which means you can deliver a higher level product, which means you have so much more to give. It means you actually have so much more capacity to deliver to the person who's in front of you. On the other side, if you're working from a space of preservation and where you prefer comfort, that means there's going to be a limited amount of feedback that you have access to, which means there's going to be very little like guidance towards change, right? Because you have a low tolerance for it, which is okay. But this is a place where you can train yourself. So I'm coming back to this idea around grit. Grit can be an incredible tool to help move towards something that is far greater and connects with purpose, connects with that greater why. And I think it's a thing that, like, you know, I'm thinking back to your work, and also, you know, simultaneously thinking about our members. If you know why, that feedback feels like a gift. Hey, what if you delivered your teaching like this, right? If your trainer is giving you some suggestion like that, and you as an instructor and receiving that information looks and goes, yes, this is going to help me get closer to my goal and closer to my purpose, and this is going to help me deliver better, right? That is a really different response than, oh, I did it wrong.
Right.
And that then parallels, think about the people you work with. When someone is eager to have a big, huge, lived into life, they want to know how they can improve their health so that they can live bigger. Maybe it's because they want to go climb a mountain. They want to know how to breathe better, right? So they have something that's going to bring them enjoyment, and they see you as a support mechanism, as opposed to, oh, well, I don't want you to take this short-term enjoyment thing away from me. That doesn't feel very good, right? We're all fixated and love dopamine. I love it when someone tells me I did something great. I'm a sucker for it, right? But I also love, like, the bigger feelings that I experience when I could impact someone else. So I see these as key fundamental changes in our mindset. Am I seeking short-term dopamine hits, which is very addicting? Or am I teaching long-term or am I working towards long-term investment? Am I getting those incredible feelings, those more of like that oxytocin experience where I see that I'm really making a difference for someone else? Those last a lot longer.
Yeah.
That's the person that you can connect with. That's the person that calls you later and wants you to mentor them. That's the person that, you know, requests you for their privates, right? Your students, you all know who those are. I'm talking to all you members who are listening right now. You know who those people are. It's because you see them beyond checking boxes. Each one of you members who are listening, you know the difference. Pause and think to yourself, when I go out and I just give a lesson, you know, when you go out and you start working on changing someone's life and their bigger picture, and you really invest in who they are, you are living into a version of your purpose that is in this space. Even if you're not clear on what your specific why is, you're probably already doing it. And that is a very different product. And when you start going out and you continue to educate yourself because you want to give more of that and be clear on how, I'm immediately thinking about how people skills are skills. We learn those. You know how to deliver those. Teaching skills, same thing. Those are very clear things and actions that you can do that can get you a deeper connection with your learner. You can do that. And then you deliver this phenomenal product. And then you feel good. I want to feel good. That's an incredible part of what we get to do. We get to feel amazing while we like cruise on snow. Oh, I love it.
You've almost put this in a pyramid scheme, Melodie. By training people, you're getting good responses from them, and then you see the people that you've been working with getting requests, and that makes you feel good as well. Because you're seeing them succeed, which is amazing.
Totally. It's like the purpose-driven feel-good pyramid. Let's go with that.
Well, I'm really looking forward to talking with you again, Melodie. I'm excited and look forward to having that one done here real soon. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight. Really appreciate you making the time to do that. And thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure, as always, George.
From the PSIA-AASI Satellite Studios in Portland, Oregon, I'm George Thomas. Thanks for listening to First Chair.